You know Touhou, right? Fast-paced bullet hell game, right? But what if I told you that isn't how the series first started? The first game is very different. Instead of dodging insane amount of bullets at light speed, you instead hit a ball that touched squares. Kinda like Arkanoid. So we boot up this game and the graphics they're really bad. I mean, you could just tell by looking at them. The backgrounds especially look really bad. They look like if you took an old 3D render and then you compress the shit out of it like, I don't know, like 5 or 10 times. But there's a certain charm to this shittiness. And to be fair, this was made by like one person in like, I don't know, a few months. But hey, at least the music's great, so now you're probably wondering, how's the game? Well, it's an interesting start to the series. And like I said before, this is similar to Arkanoid, but just different enough to make it unique. Instead of just putting more and more boxes to hit, they add bullets and obstacles that you have to dodge. But it's not to the point of like some of the more well-known games in the series, where you literally have to be ultra instinct, because in this game, you can shoot the bullets back that make them disappear, or you can just reflect them, but you should just shoot them because they can bounce back at you. Basically, being able to just destroy the bullets pretty much makes them no harm to the player at all, because the real threat is this stupid ball over here. This ball can either be your best friend or your detriment. You don't know whether the ball will get you killed, or the ball won't do what you want it to. It's not great. But you also, Reimu can also slide the ball if it gets too low, or if it can float past gaps of bullets. You also have these seizure-inducing bombs, but instead of pressing a button, you press left and right at the same time, which really sucks because you're going to be moving back and forth a lot, and you're going to be making that mistake of using a bomb by accident when you don't want to. Why couldn't they just make it a button? So, basically all you do is just hit all the squares, and you progress to the next level. But since the ball being the ball, you're gonna have this happen a lot to you, where you're like trying to hit that one last square, but your ball just won't hit it, and then you have this timer, quote unquote, because like there's no really the time limit to completing a level. It's just a time limit to like let's say increase the challenge. Like there's gonna add more obstacles where like if it runs to 0, the game's gonna be like hurry up. Oh, I'm sorry, hurry up. It's going to throw more bullets at you. Each level gets harder and harder as you go. There are 20 levels in total. Yeah, big difference instead of 6 in the other games, or 9 in Touhou 9. But these levels can be completed in about like a minute or 2, depending on your ball luck. Every 5 levels, you'll fight a boss. These bosses vary from complete pushovers to extremely aggravating. Like this boss, Ellis. Her hitbox is rather small. She teleports a lot, and then she transforms into a bat, making her even harder to hit. It's aggravating, but aside from that boss, every boss is relatively well designed. Character designs of this game can vary. Now, Rainbow herself looks alright, and she looks way different on her Windows counterpart. In fact, she looks like a completely different person. She looks alright, but the PC-98 isn't doing her justice. You get typical looking Touhou bosses like the Gatekeeper and Ellis, but then you get bizarre designs like this thing called Yugen Magen, which is an amalgamation of eyes. He really doesn't look like a Touhou boss. Now, another question with this game. Is it hard? No, it's not. It's actually pretty easy. It's one of the easiest games of the series, in my opinion. At least with how much slower it is compared to the other games. Or maybe it's because, like, this game is extremely laggy. Like the ball moves, the slight bullets in the screen, the game will chug a lot. And that could be the emulator I'm using, but I tried to fix it several times, and it didn't work. And I looked up several playthroughs, and they all had the same issue. Heck, I even tried some of the other PC-98 games, and they didn't lag at all, so I'm just gonna assume it's an issue with the game itself. If not, correct me on the comment section. What about the story of this game? Well, the game doesn't really tell you a story. It's basically non-existent, but according to the wiki, the story is that someone destroyed the Hakure Shrine, and Reimu heads to find the person who did it. It's a pretty basic plot, but hey, it's the first game. What can you do? And now we talk about the final boss, Seirio. And this boss looks sick, mainly because of the Lucifer wings and the outfit. Kinda wish she appeared in another game. Actually, every boss in this game only appears in this one, which is kind of a shame, because some of these designs kinda wasted.
Especially Serial.
But they didn't really deserve to just be a one-off thing, because I look at like Touhou too. Like Marissa, that was her debut, and then she's been every other game since. Now let's talk about the boss. This is the hardest boss in the game for good reason. She shoots quite a lot of bullets and shoots explosive bullets too, with massive hitboxes, and she takes 18 hits from the ball. So you're gonna be spending a lot of time with this boss like I did. This boss took me like 20 minutes or something, or even longer because of the game slowed down. Heck, this boss even like switches the background occasionally, which is kind of creepy, the background. You have this background with a bunch of like hands on the ground, or this background where there's Meimu over here. But then after draining all of her health, Sario's all like, oh, fuck you, I'm gonna take you down with me, and turns to this thing. I can't even tell what it's supposed to be. Which is, this phase is way easier than the last one, to be honest. But I died instantly here like an idiot, and I had to do the entire fight all over again. So after defeating Sario, we get this cutscene where Reimu is staring at a ball, and... What the fuck? The Earth explodes? I'm so confused. Oh, fuck you, game! Okay, so I did the whole thing with no continues. 20 minutes later, instead of the Earth fucking exploding, the ball just turns into a fairy, and Reimu is all like, who wished for the destruction of the Earth? The ending really isn't much, and you would be confused if you saw that Earth exploding thing. That ending could have been explained much, much better. Now, this would usually be where I end things, but there is an extra pass. So after beating the first boss, the game will give you an option to pick two paths, the Makai route or the Hell route. What I showed you originally was the Makai route, and the Hell route, well, it's supposed to be Hell, but I had a much easier time with this than the Makai route. These Hell levels add new obstacles like walls, which get really annoying to deal with because the balls just fucking bouncing all over the place. But you should be able to complete it much faster than the last route because you probably know how to play the game at this point. And the bosses here are a complete pushover than the last ones. Like, I beat all of them on my first try. The first boss barely does anything to you. The second boss, you fight this metal-looking thing, which is apparently is the moon, but it doesn't really do anything again. And the last boss, you fight this samurai-looking girl, or according to Wiki, it's an astral knight, called Konagara, which is also very easy, but every time she moves her sword, the fucking game freezes, which is infuriating. So let's see the ending here. That's even more confusing than the Earth exploding. Okay, so apparently instead of turning into a fairy, it turns into this thing, and it looks like it's surfing on Reimu, and then it destroys the shrine, and Reimu gets upset about it. Now, what I just described does not look like what was happening there at all. Like, not knowing the context of this ending, what would you make of this? Tell me in the comments below. So yeah, that's Touhou 1. Overall, it's okay game. Succeeded on what it was trying to be, but I could see why the dev changed the gameplay format with the next game going forward. So should you play this game? Well, that really depends. Because like, this game is super rough on the edges. Now if you're like, want to play all the games, then sure, go for it. So that's it for the video.